Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell and the other central bank leaders are gathering in Wyoming this week for the Fed's annual summit in Jackson Hole. The summit comes as President Trump puts more pressure on the Fed to reshape the central bank to better serve his tariff-driven economic agenda. NewsNation's Alicia Nieves is live for us on Wall Street. Alicia, heading into this highly anticipated summit, how are American companies responding to the Trump tariffs?
Yeah, good morning, Markie. I mean, we've seen over the last couple of weeks, American companies, some like 70%, for example, on the S&P 500, saying, listen, they have been, feeling the pinch of tariffs. They've withstand that, but now they are starting to have to pass that on to the consumer. It's why there's been so much pressure on the Fed to try and cut rates to help some of these companies. We've also seen them kind of slow down on hiring as a result of that high interest rate environment. So this big symposium that happens every year, always a big deal, but even bigger now, given all of that pressure from Wall Street to the White House. And also, by the way, it's Fed Chair Powell's, last time that he's going to be at this symposium giving the speech, at least as the Fed chair. So you're going to have a lot of people on Wall Street to Washington really focusing in on the Fed's speech on Friday, parsing through any clues over whether we see our first rate cut this year at the next meeting in September. That's September 17th. And that comes, of course, following yesterday's minutes where we did get some insight on potentially what the Fed is going to say. Most economists and investors on Wall Street are now pricing in, based on those minutes, about an 80% chance that the Fed's actually still going to cut rates come September to try and bolster the job market. Only a 19% chance, give or take, that there's going to be no cut. But that's because, again, that last jobs report that we got that was pretty shocking. I mean, it showed a slowdown that was relatively significant. I mean, a third of the jobs expected over the last 3 months when you factor in that revision. So a lower rate environment really could help these companies, help the job market, bolster that up. I spoke to a few people on Wall Street, and most of those that I spoke to believe the Fed at this meeting on Friday really going to stress the importance of bolstering up the job market and still maintaining the concern around inflation. Of course, we did get a PCE read, last week or the week before last, really showing that inflation is still relatively elevated, about 4 times the expectation from that last read. So, more than likely, come September 16th, it's going to be really important to see if the Fed's actually going to cut rates. But a few data points along the way from PCE that comes out next week. We do have a jobs report that comes out on the 5th of September, and then we have a CPI read that also comes out. That's going to be really critical to deciding whether the Fed's going to cut rates. But this Friday, that's going to be the first clue in terms of that rate cut, if the president gets what he wants and if Wall Street gets what it wants as well, Markie.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.